What's going on, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be putting all of this in this. So we've got a whole bunch of suspension pieces and bits that never got changed on this CRV. It's been well maintained, it's been well taken care of. It just there's just things that it didn't get replaced. So we're gonna be replacing those things. This is a customer's car. They supplied all the parts for me. I just need to go get a front seal and 2 tubes of RTV just so I have it for when it's time to do more of the job. But let's get going, man. We got a lot of work to do. Just to get into more detail about what's being replaced, all the shocks and struts. It's getting a lift kit, the AC compressor, camber arms, rear lower control arms, front lower control arms. I believe there's a front motor mount, the serpentine belt, the axle seals for the transmission, the transfer case seal. Not sure what seal this is. It's getting a fuel treatment, gear oil change, oxygen sensor, window regulator, valve cover gasket sets. Also getting the oil pan seal redone, the timing cover seal redone. I'm not going to do the timing because you can see from on the timing cover that it's actually been off before. So we're not going to be doing the timing. So I'm actually going to start with the rear of the car and work my way forward since the front of the car has so much getting done. And like since the subframe's got to come out and everything's got to get done in the front end, I'm just going to leave that for last. Like the lower control arms and a bunch of that stuff I'm going to install when it's all going back together, when the subframe and all that's going back in it. And like I said, the front's going to be the last thing to do. I'm going to bang out the rear, work my way to the front, and knock these parts out because there's a lot to install. It's crazy. There's so much stuff. But it's good because this thing is going to be like brand new when it's all said and done. It's going to need like absolutely nothing. He went ahead and took care of everything that the previous owner didn't take care of. So let's get started. But before we do that, let's install this window regulator since it's the only thing we have for the interior of the car. So here's a before. You can hear all that noise it's making. And it stops. Here's an after. Look at the cable on this one. It's all torn up. Holy shit. So I was just getting ready to break any day. And the window wouldn't even went up and down at all. So if your window just like is free up and down willy-nilly, that's because this is broken. And if it's making noise, it's probably because it's starting to break. So this is the old one. It freaking says a Honda on the wheel weight. Never have I seen that in my life. It says Honda. It's crazy, yo. Well, I'm gonna get this thing jacked up and get all the rear suspension bits to the back of the truck and get started on the back. So to get the shock out, I had to cut off the bolt because you can see the bolt is seized to the bushing on the inside. I've got to do the same thing to the other side. I tried to knock it through, but just wasn't trying to move. That's part of the bushing. So that's what it is. Just had to cut that shit off. On to the next one. So since I had to cut the lower shock strut bolts, I had to get new bolts. Now I didn't have a bolt that was short enough that had threads, you know what I mean, on this part. I don't know what to call it right now. I didn't have enough threads to come down, so and the bolt was super long. These are subframe bolts. These are K-series subframe bolts. So they're long enough to grab on and to tighten with a washer on each side. It'll grab perfectly. It has a matter of fact, I'll show you on a shock. See, look, this is what it's like. All right. But you got to remember too, it's got those two, basically another washer, this piece here, that it's got those two, so it's going to be spaced out some more. It's probably going to be like that. And then with the nut on there, it's got plenty hanging out. So yeah, this is what I'm going to use. K-series subframe bolts, cut the size with a washer or a husky washer on each side. Husky meaning, you know, nice and thick. Here goes the other one. So here's my bolt bucket. I got a distributor box with 10s and 12s and screws and all kind of miscellaneous stuff like dowel pins, and like there's even a keyway right here. So I got a whole bunch of spare. This is all Honda Acura. I mean, it works for Toyota, Nissan, and stuff like that too, but there's all spare stuff in here. Alright, 10s, 12s, all kind of smaller bolts. And then in here is all 14s, 17s, 19s, just all the bigger bolts, short, long, nuts, everything. Like even, look, there's an axle nut here. Look, there's an exhaust spring, even a VTC. So there's a whole bunch of, like, VTEC solenoid. There's a whole bunch of spare, you know, bolts and, you know, miscellaneous Honda parts in here. So when I go to the junkyard, I just keep every single screw, bolt, everything. And if I don't need it, I throw it in here. Got the bolt in. It's all the way tightened down with just a little bit of the bolt exposed. So it's all good there. Now I just gotta preload the suspension, tighten everything up, because this bolt is loose, this bolt is loose, the control arm is loose. That one I can just tighten up with it, just like that. But I gotta tighten that and then preload the suspension and tighten everything else up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and then get to the other side. I'm probably gonna do it off camera, just because I have to cut the other bolt still. Alright, so check it out. With these lower strut bushings being seized, to get the bolt out, what I do is I heat up the head with a torch, with a MAP gas torch. I heat up the back side, alright, until it gets super duper duper hot. You don't want to put a flame on the bushing or anything. You don't want it to start fire. But you wanted to get it super, super, super hot. It's going to get so hot that the bushing is going to start to spin. All right. Let's see if I can get this to show here. The bushing is going to start spinning. And, all right, and the bolt is going to start coming out. All right, but the bushing and the bolt together are going to be spinning. And this welded nut is going to be still. What you're trying to do is break this nut off, because if you cut the bolt out, that piece is going to stay there and it's going to be on there. You're going to be fighting it. So an easy way to break that weld off is to just heat up the head and this nut super hot. You start undoing the bolt, and the bolt will basically push it out. It'll basically push it off of the subframe arm here or whatever, and then you just cut in between, you know, on the left side and on the right side of the strut, real close to the strut, so the head of the bolt will fall off, that will fall off, and then the strut will just fall out. So I just wanted to explain how I got the bolt out with the welded nut in the back there. So yeah, that's that.
So before I start cutting, I just wanted to show y'all my makeshift face mask. It's the best. So what I did was trim either side of the shot, and just it comes right out. See? And it's out.
I might want to mention that to get in here with the cutoff wheel, or for me to get in there with the cutoff wheel, I had to undo the charcoal canister. I had to take off the bottom plate, which is there's two tins, one right here and one right there, and then this one here, and that'll drop the cover, and then you got this one right there and this one right here, and the whole canister will like drop a little bit, and it'll swing out the way enough that you can fit a cutoff wheel on this side, because this side you can sneak it in there, but this side you gotta absolutely move the charcoal canister out the way to cut this, or to cut the bushing on this side. So I just figured I'd throw that in there. Alright, so the driver's side is all back together. It is all preloaded right now. You can see it's off the stand. It's off of the jack. Just barely it's off the jack, but it's off the jack. You can see there's a gap there. And then everything's all tightened. The shock is tightened. The camber arm is tightened. Control arm. The subframe. Everything is all tightened, you know, with preload on it. So so we're not gonna have any premature bushing wear while being lifted. So this is the driver's side. I'm getting ready to drop the differential fluid now, and then I'll be done for the night, and we'll pick this back up tomorrow. All right, so getting ready to drain this diff. You always want to crack the drain and the fill both loose first, because if you crack your drain and drain it and then can't get your fill off, you'll be SOL. Like I said, these are already loose. So, see, that one's loose. And so is that one. So I'm gonna take out the fill. Then I'm gonna drop the drain. I'm gonna actually turn this and drop the drain. Watch this gross stuff fall out of here. That's not too bad. I missed the drain pan a little bit. So we're just gonna let that drain and plug it back up. Fill it back up. So you actually want to fill it until it's just running out of the fill hole right there. That means it's level with the fill hole. And then just cap it off. Okay. And I used OEM Honda Genuine dual pump fluid with a gear oil tip and just a hose with a metal hose, and that was it. And I just lay it on its side and squirt it all in. So yeah, I'm gonna clean that up, tighten it up, and we'll be done with the rear. So the back is all done. It's all the way on the ground. You can see it's all the way down. All right, you can see that this wheel's got a little bit of positive camber. You see a little bit of positive camber, and then this side has a little bit of positive camber. It's a tiny bit on both sides, but the it's definitely gonna need an alignment. And then this
wheel gap is something serious. Check that out compared to that one. So much smaller in the front. I'm gonna need some big old tires for this thing.
Alright, so it's the next day. I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna set you guys up on a time lapse just so it can you guys can see me just bang out the whole front end. I'm gonna start with pulling the subframe, swapping out whatever's on the subframe just to make it super easy, and then go ahead and take care of the engine since the subframe has to come out to do everything on the engine anyways, or like to reseal the whole engine, the oil pan and whatnot. So here it is. Usually subframes don't fight that much, especially not a CRV one, since there's nothing on it, like the rack and stuff. You don't gotta disconnect. But that one driver's rear subframe bolt and the driver's side ball joint, I don't know what the hell was up with that, but they did not want to come out. Y'all seen I had my jack pole on. I was afraid that the subframe bolt was gonna break. Well, I mean, I had spares and I could drill it out, but that would suck. That would absolutely suck if a subframe bolt broke. But got it out. Everything is good. The ball joint came free, which, I mean, eventually that would come free, but goodness gracious, usually a couple whacks with the 4-pound will take it free, you know. I even put a jack underneath it, putting pressure up, still didn't want to come free. But now I'm going to start disconnecting the stuff on the motor, on the engine, for those who, you know, motor's electric, engine is combustion, get it. But you're going to hear me say motor all the time. Because in Spanish, engine is motor. So that's why I say motor. But now let's do this motor. Alright, so check this out. I just wanted to show the difference in the noise that's going on here. So this valve is closed, so you know, it's a little noisy. But this one back here, this one's got a whole lot of play. This one is a little more quiet. But this one, this shit's loud. I can't check the other ones because valves are obviously open, but the ones that are closed you can wiggle around free. This one's pretty loud too. But that's gonna be for later. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just getting the cover off so that I can do the timing cover and take all that off and make sure everything, you know, seals up real good on the timing cover before I throw the valve cover back on. So now I'm gonna go to the underside, drain the oil, drop the oil pan, and then take off the timing cover. Yo, if y'all don't got this tool, y'all gotta go get it. It's a Honda crank bolt removal tool. This is the name and part number. I got it from Amazon. It was like 20 bucks or 22 bucks. Check this out. Alright, let me put the flash on. So you can see there's no marks. No fresh marks. Like I didn't take it off. And anybody who knows, these crank pulley bolts are a son of a bitch to get off. Alright, here we go. Came right off. Here's the socket again. If you don't have it, get it, because y'all just seen how easy that came off. Oh shit, it came off so easy. I love it. I love that tool. Oh, my lady brought me some food real quick. About to tear this up. Check out this valve cover. Whoever did it last, RTV, the OEM rubber gaskets, and he was heavy on the RTV for sure. Alright, so the mount on the Aerogenics mount kit, you want to put the spacers on the passenger side right there underneath the mount bracket, and the new bolt goes right there. And then on the transmission side, the sleeves go there and the new bolt goes there. I'll show the subframe ones here when we install the subframe, but that's not getting installed yet, so I can't show you just yet. Also, the timing cover is all the way installed. I still got the oil pan to do, and still got the whole lower half. And it'll be said and done. Alright, so I apparently lost a whole day's worth of footage. I don't know how, but I lost a whole day's worth of footage. I'm just going to show you guys everything that got done and where I'm at right now. So Basically, the CRV is almost done. All I have to do is finish putting in the subframe and the valve adjustment, put oil in it, and throw in the treatments. And that's pretty much all that needs to be done for that. And then I can let it warm up and do its test cycles and stuff. Well, let me show you what got done. All right, so the struts with the lift kit got installed. Not everything is tight or anything. Like I said, the lift kit or the subframe is giving me issues of alignment or whatever. The motor mount doesn't line up and it's just having issues going in. But the control arms, the strut, the lift kit, the front motor mount, the oxygen sensor, the axle seal, the transfer case seal is new. The other axle seal got put in. You know, obviously the oil pan is on, timing cover's on, filter's on, the new belt is on. That was me. Here's what I mean by I'm having issues. This spot on the subframe that the bolt goes through is supposed to go to this mount. So what I think it is the transmission part of the lift kit, the spacers. That bracket has a lot of play or whatever, and we put that, or I put that in when it only had one mount on. So I can imagine the engine tweaked one way, so I have to loosen those ones and move it back this way so that this will sit in and line up. That's stretched right now, but it'll go back to normal. Forgot the AC compressor too. These are the instructions for the lift kit, just so you guys can have a peek. These are the three that I have to undo and move around again. So these ones are fine. These three, though. And here's the instructions. I'm gonna go ahead and Alright, so this is what I was saying. What I think it is the bracket. See how the marking is just off? That's all the way tightened down and it's just off, you know what I mean? So just gonna loosen these, shift it over, and hopefully that'll make everything settle back into place. Alright, so I've got the motor mount pretty much where it needs to be at. What I ended up doing was, besides loosening up the transmission bracket and the post mount bracket, and actually this bracket, this overdrive, I guess this is an overdrive cable or the shifter cable for the shift selector, was on top of this in the back just by a little bit. I undid these two bolts right here, these two, and it just fell pretty much right into place. You know, now the mount sits where it should be at. I'm gonna start buttoning everything back up. Like the subframe, I'm gonna put it all the way up and in, tighten up all the motor mounts, keep pushing. Those I usually gun down, but since it's got the lift kit, decided to torque it down. Same thing with the mounts. I'm gonna torque down the mounts too. Now that everything for the engine lowering kit, the spacers for the subframe and for the engine mounts, for the side engine mounts, now that those are all in and torqued down, I can move on to buttoning up the rest of the vehicle and finally finishing it all up. Alright, so when you're installing the lift kit or the strut with the spacer on the top of it, and you get to this point and you can't put the top bolt in,
This is a trick that I found. Put a piece of wood on the stud, and it'll just force it up for you. You ain't gotta fight it. You ain't gotta do nothing. So what you do is jack it up until it goes in. The wood's gonna be a little sketch, but get it lined up. Wow! Yeah. Alright, now that we're reset up, you wanna just get the hole lined up. It don't gotta be perfect, and then you wanna shove a big flathead screwdriver just to eliminate the sketchiness. This is what I did on the other side too. I got it up, lined up as good as I could, came down on it, and then went ahead and went underneath 2 studs like that. And then when I jacked it up, it just fell into place. Much better. It's much safer. Everything is nice and straight. It's just, getting it up. You want to get it to line up as good as you can and shove a screwdriver in as fast as you can to hold it so you can reposition yourself. Now the bolt should just slide right in. I couldn't put the bolt in with one hand. So once you get your bolts in, your bolts and nuts on for the strut, you just want to put everything back together, put the tie rod on, put the brake hose on, tighten up. I got to tighten up the axle nut because I had the whole thing apart, but tighten everything back up. The strut doesn't come with a new piece here, so we're going to just zip tie that there. And this wheel can go back on and I can start doing the valve adjustment. So I've actually got the CRV on the ground. This wheel has a little bit of positive camber, and this one has a bit more positive camber than the other. But all the suspension is all tight. Everything is all together. The mounts are all in and tight. Everything is in. Squared away. I'm going to do the valve adjustment now. The final, the final big job that needs to be done before fluids. Alright, so I just got the valve adjustment all tidied up. The specs are 9 thousandths for intake and 12 thousandths for exhaust. And if you don't have this tool, the Honda jam nut valve adjustment tool, it's going to be a lot harder. This is my third time using it, and boy, it makes my job a whole lot easier. Still a pain in the ass because you're looking for the feel, and sometimes it doesn't stay on that feel whenever you tighten it, but this right here is the truth. Alright, so I've got the valve cover surface all prepped. I'm going to put RTV on the corner areas there, in the corners here, boom, on all 4, and drop the valve cover on, button it all back together, put fluid in, and start it up.
everything's all installed. Fluids are topped off. Check the timing before I put the valve cover back on. I rotated it 3 times over. It stayed spot on. I double checked all the valve lash after I went over it. They all felt great. I just hooked up the battery. Everything is hooked up, topped off. I'm going to try and start it. See what happens. And listen how quiet it is. It's not tapping no more. Nice. And it's on the ground. It's all the way on the ground. So this wheel got some positive offset, but it needs an alignment. I'm just gonna let it run and do its thing, check all the fluids after it warmed up, and I'll close out this video here in a little while. Alright, I've let it run for about 30 minutes. I'm gonna check the oil. It's right underneath the top dot. Oil's super clean, but it's at a good level. Transmission. There we go. All right. Money. And this car is done and ready to go. It is about time. Well, I got this CRV all knocked out. As you can see, it's dark outside. It's been over the last couple days, you know, waiting for parts, having to do things in the meantime, or getting frustrated with what was there. But it's all taken care of. Did all that maintenance that you've seen that it needed. It got a lift kit installed. And it's ready to go. On to the next one. See you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you later.